And on the Newsmaker hotline, KT McFarland, Fox News national security analyst, host of FoxNews.com's DEFCON 3 show. 1 p.m. Wednesdays. You can hear it on live.foxnews.com. KT, good to have you.
It's a pleasure.
I want to start by talking about John Kerry and something he said yesterday during his inaugural foreign tour. This is our Secretary of State.
In America, you have a right to be stupid if you want to be. And you have a right to be disconnected to somebody else if you want to be. And we tolerate it. We somehow make it through that. Now, I think that's a virtue. I think that's something worth fighting for.
Is that what you would have started with?
Well, remember, this is the same guy who was against it before he was for it and against it. I think it goes a long way to explain why John Kerry never became president of the United States. No, I don't want to defend that in the least, and I just want to contrast that to somebody like Reagan, who talked about the shining city on the hill, or Lincoln, who said the better natures, the better angels of ourselves.
Right. Well, and specific to Germany, I mean, to tear down this wall, ich bin ein Berliner, compared with you have a right to be stupid.
Well, he's going to have a lousy 4 years, is all I've got to say.
Yeah. But,
it's already started. I mean, the lousy 4 years are going to be even worse for poor Hagel when he gets his swearing-in ceremony and has the reception afterwards. I mean, it really ought to be like a wake when you think of what he's walking into. He's going to have a terrible time.
You're really worried about that, aren't you?
Yeah, because here's why. It's the leading from behind thing. What Hagel is walking into, and he's already wounded, right? We've seen that he doesn't do very well on Capitol Hill. So he's not going to have great relations there, and he's going to need Capitol Hill. But he's also got to deal with, on day one, defense cuts, sequestration cuts. He's got to deal with Afghanistan. How do you get out of Afghanistan without losing a lot of Americans? North Korea is going to probably have another nuclear test in the next couple of weeks, or missile test. The Chinese are hacking every computer in America. We have no policy to deal with that. The Russian foreign minister wouldn't even take Secretary Kerry's phone call for a week, and Iran is on the verge of nuclear weapons and basically telling us we're going to race for the finish. So, again, I don't think it should be a big reception Hagel's going to have. I think it's more like a wake. It's going to be a really tough job.
You mentioned the nuclear threats that we're seeing brewing out there, and I remember when the president was running, back in the primary in 2007 and 2008, during some of those debates, he was mocking the Bush administration at that time for putting demands on the Iranian government as preconditions for talks. I remember he said, why should it be such a privilege to talk with us? I'll go and talk with these people without preconditions. Is there any engagement going on with Iran, and for that matter, is that what we should be doing?
Well, I never believe in negotiating without having a lot of leverage. I think that then if you're not really negotiating, you're kind of begging. And so if you want to negotiate, I think the best position to negotiate is when you've got your hands wrapped around somebody's neck. And we certainly don't have that with Iran. We have sanctions, and those hurt, but they don't seem to be hurting enough to have a regime change. And the kind of social unrest, the Arab Spring really started in Iran in 2009 with the Green Revolution after the Iranian election. We didn't do anything to encourage it. We just did the opposite. We helped snuff it. So the engagement that he wants to have is with the current leadership, and the current leadership has no interest in doing anything other than developing their nuclear weapons program. Now, why? Because Iran knows the minute they get nuclear weapons, everything changes. Then they're the dominant power in the region. They've got their hands around the neck of oil exports. Every other country in the region then has to realize, well, America's leaving and Iran is here to stay. So I think that Iran has very little, we have very little negotiating leverage over Iran that we're willing to use. Now, could we have some? You bet we could. And the way you would do that is to develop American energy supplies today so that we would be energy independent within 5 or 7 or 10 years. And then all the fighting that they've had in the Middle East, brother against brother, tribe against tribe, that they've had since the book of Genesis, we won't have to be in the middle of because we won't need their energy.
Heck, KT, we don't even have to develop our own oil. We can just help pipe the oil from Canada.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the first thing you do, is get Canada's oil, and then develop our own oil. We've already developed our own natural gas, and it would be a very different world. I mean, think about it. If America was energy independent to the point that we could be energy exporters, what would happen? First of all, the Middle East wouldn't matter very much. Secondly, it would revive the American economy. It would have enormous impact on unemployment. In fact, look at North Dakota. Anybody who goes to North Dakota makes $100,000 the next day because he's got a job, and a terrific job. And then finally, China's biggest fear for the next 20 years is access to energy. And if we have it and they don't, all of a sudden China may not be interested in hacking every computer in America. What they may be interested in doing is being really palsy-walsy with us.
All right, let me ask you this quick question, because I think immigration is a national security issue.
Yeah.
And the Obama administration is in the process, actually, of releasing some 10,000 people that were in our jails on immigration charges. We've been told before that they were only going to arrest those and hold those who were dangerous, but now they're telling us that the people that they're releasing are not dangerous.
Well, it's sort of like what they did with the Guantanamo prisoners. The guys they released then went on and caused real havoc in North Africa. But the immigration thing is just befuddles me. I mean, I was in the Reagan administration when we dealt with this before in the 1980s. It's such a no-brainer. Fix the border. Make sure that you've got control over your own southern border. Once you've done that, not before you've done that, but once you've done that, and you could do that quickly, then you go around and look at the undocumented aliens and say, okay, look, if you've been here since you've been 2 and you've got a scholarship to Harvard and your mom and dad are working in the dry clean, wow, we really want you. We welcome you. If you're here and you've been committing crimes, we don't want you. Sayonara. And so I think you take the people who are here and then start very carefully peeling away at who do you want, who do you not want, and deal with it once and for all. But if you don't fix that border first, then you'll have exactly the same problem we had with the Reagan administration, where they said they would fix the border and grant amnesty. They granted amnesty, never fixed the border, and so the problem continues. And
here we are. It certainly does. All right, K.T. McFarland, always good to have you every week, and we look forward to seeing you this Wednesday at 1 p.m. Wait, that's today. Today at 1 p.m. It's your DEFCON 3 show on FoxNews.com. Always great to have you, K.T. Thanks.